Welcome everyone to a new episode of Meet Explorers. I'm here in Perth, Australia, at the house of my new friend Ed. So, well, first Ed, can you introduce yourself? And we met through the Explorers Club yesterday evening.
Yeah, well, my name is Ed Punchard, and well, I have this expression, I used to be a deep sea diver, but I'm all right now. I worked in the North Sea for many years, and I was, my career there came to an end because I was on board a Northern rig called PIPER Alpha. It blew up and there was a lot of people killed. And I moved to Australia to renew my life, to get the blackboard rubber out, wipe the slate clean and start again.
I really have to explain that. So yesterday Ed gave a talk and he explained, so actually he was on an oil rig, so a platform in the middle of the channel. Or is it
the North Sea?
It's the North Sea.
Yeah, between Scotland and Denmark.
The North Sea between Scotland and Denmark. And so there was an incident that led to big explosion, many explosions. You told us the consequence and how it moved on from the first explosion to many people died, and you were
167 people
and
lost
one
their
of
lives.
50 something survivors, right?
52.
52 survivors. So Ed told us the story. Have a look at
PIPER Alpha.
PIPER
Look it up.
There's a Wikipedia page, everything is documented there. There's a few documentaries and stories. That was in 1988.
Yeah.
So that's like
34 years.
Getting close to 40 years.
Yeah, getting up.
And so he told us the consequences mentally on lots of colleagues, friends, and so on. And then he moved on. So what did you do after the...
Well, I wrote a book initially because I wanted to make a statement about all the things that were wrong in the oil industry. To improve it, and so that kept me busy for a year. But I didn't want to become what I call a disaster has-been. I didn't want to be the angry person who was
touring around the globe, telling everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I was angry. I still am, to be honest, but I didn't want that to just how I was defined. So I made a plan. And I came to Australia to do a graduate degree, and that was in maritime archaeology, so the study of shipwrecks.
So you're still kind of diving. Instead of diving in the sea, you've been diving in time.
Well, in the sea and in time. So a nice combination, and I'd always been interested in maritime history. All my family are from a historic town in Devon called Dartmouth, and it's where the Naval College is, and so my whole family in history and background sort of is involved with the sea and seafaring. So it was a natural thing for me to do. I've been interested in maritime history all my life. So I studied maritime archaeology.
So many wrecks, or could be towns that are
harbours, all manner of components. But it's anything that's maritime, and my real interest, of course, is to be underwater. I was a diver, and I've never been happier than when I'm underwater. It's just how it is for me. I feel calm and relaxed as soon as you do this.
Actually, the scuba diving was my first passion. I learned that I was an expat in Singapore in 2002, and someone came back from Belgium. A Belgian came back. I was working for a bank. Came back to Singapore, back to Belgium, and I was going to say, you have to learn scuba diving. And to me, there was like, the athletes, then Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, and above, scuba divers, because how do they do their thing in the mouth and how do they breathe? Actually, it's very easy when you learn. You have to learn, and became my first passion. And it's because of scuba diving that I decided one day, where can I go diving where it's great? The Great Barrier Reef, Australia, and this is how my story starts with Australia, and then from Australia to the deserts that I now love, also the deserts. So I love the sea, but as exposed, I think we're happy as long as we do something a bit outdoors, a bit on the edge, like you like to say.
Yeah.
And so coming back, you studied, did this degree, and then what next endeavors or entrepreneurship?
Well, I found as I was approaching the end of my studies that I had an idea for a film, and I think any filmmaker will say that when you've got a film inside you, you've either got to get the film made or you have to have it surgically removed. And
it's a virus that needs to get out.
It gets you, but I wasn't a filmmaker. I had no experience in these matters. So I had to figure it out, and I teamed up with some good people. And the first film that I made was about the loss of a battleship, Australian, in World War II. It's the loss of HMA Sydney. And it's an important story, especially for Australia. That was my first film, never made a film before.
And the ship existed somewhere in the sea?
It was lost, mysteriously lost, or it was believed at that time to be a mystery. It's subsequently proven not to be really a mystery, and the vessel has been found, thankfully. But it was a very important historical story for Australia. And we got the film made. And it was a great success. It was broadcast on Channel 9 in Australia. It topped the ratings that night, and that led to another film and another one and another one. And
always about shipwrecks?
Well, initially there was a focus on maritime subjects, but subsequently not exclusively at all. But of course it's a great passion for me, so I've always been able to go back and make maritime history films or shipwreck films. Subsequently, I acquired a small submarine and a mothership for it, and I made films using that, and that was a great thrill. Happily for me, I was able at that stage to combine my experience with offshore work with, sort of deep sea intervention equipment like submarines with my filmmaking, so I was able to bring the two things
it's a bit
together.
of the engineering, the skills. We all always a combination of the past, what we studied and what we do. It's hard to become an explorer on day two when your first skill is perhaps hairdressers. No problem with hairdressers, but I haven't met any hairdressers. I'm going to do climbing Mount Everest, for instance.
Yeah.
Well, usually we are mostly engineers, doctors, sometimes lawyers or athletes or military.
Yeah.
Usually this kind of job that requires some science or deep knowledge of things.
Yeah.
Or sport that leads to adventure and then further on to exploration.
Well, what I didn't realise when I started filmmaking was that it would be a means to expedite and fund expeditions. Because searching for shipwrecks, excavating shipwrecks, they're expeditions. And I'm sure you appreciate it. It's often hard to fund the thing that you're passionate about. But of course, if you funded a film, in a sense, you've also funded an expedition. So it facilitated great adventure in my life. And I've been enormously grateful for that, because after my experiences offshore and witnessing that awful tragedy, I didn't want to give up the adventure, for example, of being a North Sea diver. That was a very edgy thing to do as a young man. And to leave that all behind and not find something that was, again, a bit edgy, would have been difficult. But the filmmaking allowed me to go and have adventures, and I've been very fortunate in that sense.
And you're doing films. How many films have you done in total?
Oh gosh, I sold my company a few years ago, 2-3 years ago now, and I think at that stage we'd made, 350, I think.
Films
for television, all for television, and many of them within series. We would
so like thousands of hours, actually.
Well, certainly hundreds of hours. Yeah.
That's not like I thought it was 5 to 10 films. No, it's a huge amount.
Well, I mean, I don't know where it came from. So I'd never made a film, right? I never studied film. I had to figure it out. It just happened. And
so how many people were in the company at the maximum?
50, 60 people at the end, you know. And it's still going strong. The company was called Prospero Productions. It's still busy. Still here in Perth, yeah. And it's still going strong. And I describe it as my, it's like a personal memorial to the Piper Alpha disaster. It represents my commitment to living a good and compelling life after the disaster, because so many people didn't have a life to live. And
do you feel that the passion you had in the filming industry that keeps you busy? I know how hard, it is hard of course to make a film, but it has to be busy, that it removes the idea of the complaining on yourself, that because you are busy, that on the move, that it doesn't give your brain time to get depressed.
It keeps the demons under control.
Okay.
And they're there. I'll freely admit it, the demons are there. But the way in which I deal with it is to live a good life, a busy life, and to honour the fact that I'm alive. It's simple, really. And I think I've made a fist of it. I'm happy with the work that I've done in all those years since the disaster. And now, I'm in a bit of an unusual position because I don't have my company anymore. So I'm trying to find things to do. And one of the things is to give talks and presentations about the disaster and what I did to hold it together. And I guess that's the thing that now I'm focusing on to keep my demons under control.
Thank you. I think we're going to end this little interview here. Thank you for being in this little show that's going to be on YouTube. And there's going to be, of course, different interviews coming in Australia. I'm actually touring Australia to meet people like you, and I don't know who's going to be next. Probably an Australian. And yeah, so the idea is to have the show getting on, and hopefully you like to have this little capsule of small interviews, and one day hopefully the show is going to be bigger with filming outdoors, perhaps with a proper team.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Good luck to you.
Thank you. And yeah, so I believe Ed has also a profile. You'll find it probably on Wikipedia for people who want to know,
I'm on the web.
On IMDb, the movie database, if you want to learn. And I believe if they're interested in this company, the company still exists. If you're interested in maritime films, you heard it, you can perhaps find more about them. Enjoy watching, and see you soon.